Introducing an all-new channel, JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL that don't get talked about on this channel in a completely relaxed, unscripted format. Newest video is up, where I talk about the controversial ending to the Lions-Cowboys game and how the NFL can fix the clear problem at hand. So go check that out and subscribe. And now, on with our feature presentation. December 31st, 2023. It's week 17 of the NFL season, and we've got a battle on our hands on a cold, windy, and snowy day at Soldier Field between the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons. For the main team in our story, the Bears, this season has been a bit of a mixed bag for them. On one hand, barring a complete miracle and a lot of help, they find themselves on the outside looking into the playoff picture for the third straight season, thanks in part to an 0-4 start and a 2-7 start where nothing was going right for them. On the other hand, they have been playing significantly better football as of late, entering this game having won 3 of their last 4. They need a win to have any shot at making the playoffs, however minuscule that may be. But at least there are some things to potentially build on in the future. Whether coaching is one of them? Well, after a decision like this one, that remains to be seen. Anyways, this game is going great for the Bears so far, as they are taking it to the Falcons. After 3 touchdowns on the first 4 drives of the game, they lead at 21-7, and outside of one bad play, they're really doing a good job defensively, as on their last 3 drives, they've allowed a measly 5 yards. And following an interception by TJ Edwards in Atlanta territory with about a minute left, they find themselves with the ball and a chance to make it a 3-score game if they can do something offensively. The bad news is that despite the good field position, they can't do anything with it. And now, they're at Atlanta's 37-yard line with 4 seconds left on what will be the final play of the half. It is a super windy, super snowy day. These are not ideal conditions for kicking whatsoever, especially for a guy like Cairo Santos, who has no leg strength at all and has never hit a kick from beyond this distance. There is no chance he can make this field goal. Only bad things can happen here. So the Bears, just like they did 2 weeks ago in an identical spot, send Justin Fields out there to try the helmet. Are you kidding me? They're sending Santos out?
Santos. And this is going to be returned by Eberflus.
Oh God, they're going to return this. Oh God, they're going to return this. Nothing good can come from this at all. Nothing good can come from this at all. I'm terrified about what's going to happen next, because I truly mean it. Nothing good can come from this at all.
Short field goal, and Alford maneuvers down the sideline, maneuvers back in. Alford stumbles down at the 15.
I mean, bullet dodged, I guess, but welcome to dumb decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this could possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of Chicago Bears head coach Matt Eberflus. Look, I think Eberflus is safe for another year. I never would have said that about a month ago when they were losing and were looking in line to get both of the top 2 picks in the draft. But to their credit, they played some pretty good football as of late. And you can make the argument that they are one of the top 7 teams in the NFC right now. But with decisions like this, I'd be scratching my head to say the least. No, it didn't end up mattering. The Falcons, by the skin of their teeth, did not score, although they absolutely could have. But even though it didn't matter, and even though you won the game, it doesn't change the fact that this was stupid, and never should have been called in the first place, like at all. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a field goal to end the half from 55 yards out on a snowy day is a really bad idea. And look, on the surface, if you knew nothing about the situation, you'd probably think that this is a massive over-exaggeration on my part. If this was a team like the Cowboys, or the Ravens, or the Chiefs, or dare I say it, any team in the NFL not named the Cleveland Browns, since their kicker is Riley Patterson, and he has maybe the weakest leg in football, I would not be making this video. No way, no how. I would not be making this video in the slightest bit. But this is the Chicago Bears that we're talking about. And this is their kicker, Cairo Santos, that we're talking about. What's insane about this is that literally 2 weeks ago, I made a video about this game right here between the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. However, in summation, the Bears were in an identical spot at the end of the first half. No exaggeration, an identical spot. They found themselves with the ball at the 37-yard line at the end of the half. And with bad weather, they figured that Cairo Santos did not have the leg to try the field goal from that far out. So they tried a Hail Mary instead, which failed, because most Hail Marys fail. But after the game, Eberflus was asked about the decision, and the logic made sense. Eberflus said that Santos' range in bad weather like that was 48 yards. They knew he couldn't hit it because his leg isn't that strong, and they didn't want to risk the possibility of the field goal getting run back the other way for a touchdown. I defended the decision. I defended it wholeheartedly and agreed with that. If your kicker cannot hit from that far out, he cannot hit from that far out. Plain and simple. If you draw up a play in basketball for a team of 8-year-olds, it doesn't matter how you draw it up. They won't be able to dunk the ball. I literally did an entire episode defending Eberflus and his logic, knowing that Cairo Santos was his kicker. And yet, despite all of that, Eberflus, not even 2 weeks later, goes ahead and does the exact opposite? He had perfectly sound logic and decided in the same spot to throw it all away? This feels like I'm making the same episode again, only this time in reverse. Let's talk about Santos for a second. He has been in the NFL since 2014. He has been kicking for a decade in this league. He has attempted over 250 field goals, so a fairly substantial sample size. And in his entire career, his longest kick was 55 yards. You're watching it right now. It barely cleared the crossbar. It barely had enough. From 55 yards out, in an indoor stadium, mind you, so no weather concerns or wind concerns or snow whatsoever, he barely made it from a distance perspective. So it's not that he hasn't had opportunities to try kicks from 55 plus yards. He has had those chances, and he's failed to reach. This is a quick compilation of various kicks from 50 plus yards that he tried that were not blocked and still fell way short. Heck, he's missed short before from 53 indoors. So let's think about this logically for a second. You truly expect Cairo Santos, the man whose career long is 55, and that was indoors, the man who is notorious for having a super weak leg, and the man who, literally 2 weeks ago, you couldn't trust to reach from 55 yards in similarly bad weather, to tie his career high? You expect him, on a day where it is snowing and where it is windy, with it being anywhere from 13 to 18 miles per hour, to make a career-long kick? Again, if this was a different team with a different kicker, and you want to try this, be my guest. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you knew this wasn't going to work. You knew he was going to miss short. If it was a matter of missing left or right, different story, but you knew he was going to miss short. You knew he didn't have the leg strength. And yet, you tried it. You freaking try it anyways. I don't get it. What could have possibly changed between the Browns game and the Falcons game? If anything, because you were up by 2 scores already, the philosophy behind the play was even worse because of there being less incentive to try and get points. The weather was worse here, and if anything, you could make the argument that Santos' leg was weaker because he was 2 weeks older than he was before and out of his prime and more fatigued. Although that's a terrible argument, but still, you get the idea. There was nothing whatsoever, and I truly mean it, nothing at all, that would allow for you to try the field goal here, but not try it against Cleveland. There is no reward for trying the field goal here. I know that technically, the reward is that you could get 3 points and make it a 3-score game, but that literally cannot happen, because you know that Santos can't reach that. It's like if I swim against Katie Ledecky and you bet your money on me. The reward is that you win big, but that literally cannot happen, because she is an Olympic swimmer, and I cannot swim and am terrified of the deep end. We know Santos can't hit that, so at this point, this field goal is all risk. And the risk is obvious. It gets returned the other way for a touchdown, like this one very nearly was, and probably should have and could have been. When you've got the field goal unit out there, it's a lot of fat linemen who can't run. a kicker who weighs nothing and can't run, and then a quarterback or a punter and holder who weighs nothing and can't run. There's a reason you see a lot of field goals run back, and that's why the personnel leads itself to that happening. So the risk is super high that it gets run back. If you try a Hail Mary like you tried against Cleveland, the reward is that you could score a touchdown, but you're not risking a pick six the other way, because that never happens unless your quarterback can't reach the end zone and throws it short, a la Tim Boyle in the Jets-Dolphins game. But Justin Fields can obviously hit from 37 yards out. So you can get a touchdown, but you don't risk allowing points. Compare that to trying a field goal that has no shot at working, which has a worse reward than scoring a touchdown, just by virtue of the amount of points you can score, but has a higher risk. And yeah, the field goal makes no sense here. No freaking sense. I literally feel like I'm repeating myself from that In Defense Of episode. Except instead of defending Eberflus for doing the right thing from the 37-yard line by foregoing the field goal, I'm burning him at the stakes for doing the exact opposite of that here. After the game, no one asked Eberflus about the kick, which I get. Because number one, the Bears won the game. And number two, the play didn't end up mattering. Because even though it was super close, it still resulted in 0 points for the Falcons. So I'm not going to chastise the reporters here like I have for some other moments where dumb decisions weren't talked about, since this is one of those plays that will probably be forgotten about by the end of the week. But still, I'm fascinated. I would love to know the logic to do a complete 180 when he had it right the first time. It just confuses me to no end. And I want to make it very clear, I don't hate the idea of Matt Eberflus coming back for the 2024 season. I really don't. They're playing a lot better as of late, and Eberflus needs some credit for that. You bring Fields back, you trade the number one pick for a king's ransom, and then if it works, great, and if not, you have the most desirable vacancy in the league with all the draft ammo you've got, and with the possibility of getting a franchise quarterback. Really, I don't hate the idea of Eberflus coming back. But then he goes and makes decisions like this, and I just don't know. Matt Eberflus, I defended you once. Why are you making me go back on my word? So what do we learn from all of this? If you know that your kicker cannot make a field goal from a particular distance, then don't have him try a kick from that particular distance. It's not rocket science. If you know that someone can't do something and is physically incapable of doing something, then don't have him do that. If the longest your kicker has ever hit is 55 yards indoors in good weather, and that was by a hair, then odds are he won't be able to hit from 55 yards outdoors in snow and high winds. If you have a sample size of 250 of anything, and over a decade of data to go off of, then it's probably not a good idea to go against that, especially when it's a high-risk situation. And if you don't know the strengths and weaknesses and limitations of your own kicker, which is an extremely basic and simple thing to do, then you really need to evaluate everything, including your competency level as a head coach in this league. Because when all of these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.